Hey everybody, it's Sam with Easy Breezy again, bringing you something else that we just dug out of storage and figure we get her going. We got some time. It ain't snowing out. It's negative 30 degrees with wind chill right now up in northern Minnesota, and it's too damn cold to be outside. So let's get started and I'll show you what we got. So right here we got a Cub Cadet 1450, which is a 14 horse power Kohler engine on it. It's actually a pretty nice tractor. It is all original, and we actually got the snowblower and all the original purchase paperwork with it when we picked her up. Really rare find to get all the information with it and kind of the backstory with it. So it's a real nice tractor, and we're gonna see what we can do with her. All right, I'll also show you guys the serial number on it so you guys kind of know. I don't know if you guys can see that down there. Don't have the best lighting right now. Kind of just starting this channel, so not working with a whole lot. I'll show you the motor. Air filter and stuff like that is sitting on top. As you can see, it is a 14 horsepower Kohler motor. It is a hydrostatic, so it is not gear drive. It is actually pump driven. Now, these were a very, very heavy duty tractor that could do a lot of work. They also came with tons of attachments that you could run on it. Alrighty, so the first thing we will do is test this battery, see if this battery has any juice in it or anything like that. Put it to the voltage on the amp meter or multimeter, whatever you call it. Right now it looks like we got about 10 volts in there. That can be quite enough, and it's kind of sporadic, so I think we'll take that out and put a different battery in her. Alright, so just crack them all loose. We'll get this battery out. Anytime you change batteries on a tractor or riding lawnmower, anything like that, if you are able to, we always strongly recommend you changing the bolts, just to, make sure you get a good connection and things like that. So we'll get these batteries out of here, get new bolts in them. We're also going to clean up the connections too while we're in here. It does look like this battery's been in here quite a while, and I do not think it is any good. So that is why we are just gonna opt to change the battery. And I kind of figured that. Now this tractor, we do know it did start, but it did not run the best. We actually had it out last fall and fixed the muffler on it. These mufflers are actually pretty hard to come by, and we just opted to fix it instead of trying to buy a new one and source that. So get this battery out of here. And we'll grab a wire brush, or in this case, it's grabbing a brass brush. All we're doing is cleaning up those connections so that when we put her back in, she's gonna get a good connection to her. Probably should change this cable here
See how crusty she is. Don't have one on hand right this second, so we're gonna just clean her up the best we can and then put her back in. She'll do what we need to do for right now, just so we can get this thing figured out and figure out what's stopping it from running good. So generally we use 1/4-inch bolts in the batteries on these. Just most batteries, that's what size they do require. Now, like I said, I am going to be changing these out, turning these out because they are pretty corroded. I don't actually have any in stock at this time, so I'm just going to get some bolts in it, and so we can move on to the next step. I'll come back when we get her in and we can see what she does.
Alrighty, so we got that battery in there. We also got it on the charger. It was a little low from sitting on the shelves. It's from last year. It's from when we did not use last year. So figured, you know, throw it on the charger. Alrighty, so what we'll do is we did put the pedal down with the safety switch on, because this will not turn over if you do not put the pedal down. Also want to make sure your PTO right here is off, because again, it will not turn over. And again, you want to make sure the shifter right here, because it is a hydro, it is on the dash, make sure that is in the neutral position. Now, right here is your choke. All the way down is off choke. All the way up is on full choke. Throttle's right here, all the way forward. And then your key, I know it's kind of hard to see, your key's gonna be right here. Just give that a spin, see what she does. Doesn't seem like she's doing anything right now. What we'll do is we'll get that side cover off and see what's going on. All right, so I already went through and pulled the bolts off that were on this cover here. So all we have left is this spring on top here that kind of sandwich the two covers and kind of hold it there. All you got to do is kind of twist this off like this. Both covers will kind of tilt down. They'll come right off. Now, like I said, last year we did go through this a little bit to figure out kind of what was going on and things like that. So let's just make sure everything's working as it should. Looks like everything, throttle's working. I'd say let's give her a shot and of laughing gas and make her go. All right, well, I got the laughing gas. Give her a shot. Reach over to the key. Still nothing. So what we'll do is we'll pull the plug, see what we got for spark. I do have the points uncovered right now. That's kind of how we left it last year. We did clean the points last year and they are sparking, but we are not getting spark, I don't think, to the plug. So what we'll do is we'll get that plug pulled and we'll come back. And actually, before we pull that plug, we'll just do a simple spark test on her. We'll grab the tool real quick. Alrighty, so this right here is a simple spark tester. So what it's going to do is you're going to hook this end right here to the spark plug, this end right here to the boot that would normally go on the spark plug. What that'll do is that'll flash a light in here to simply tell you if you have spark or not. So what we'll do is I'll take you over there and we'll get that all hooked up. So there's the spark plug right there. Let's pull that off there. Like I said, I'll put that on the top of the plug. We'll take this end, which is connected to the coil. Kind of hard to do this one-handed. And we'll get it set up like that. Now what we'll do is we'll turn the key. Now that is a very, very faint spark that I do not think it is going to run on. I mean, generally you'll have a little bit of spark and it will run, but that's kind of the problem we were chasing down last year before we started doing the YouTube. So I'm sorry we weren't able to bring you along with it then, but we'll go from there and kind of figure it out. Alrighty, so we're at the other side of the motor. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the multimeter and make sure we're getting a good current to our coil. Because if we're not getting a good current to our coil, we will not have spark. Like I said, sorry for the camera bouncing around. Still pretty new at this, still trying to learn how to use a camera and work on equipment at the same time. It's a totally different ballgame. So what we'll do is we'll get this negative feed right here, somewhere that it will get a connection, or actually what we'll do is we'll just kind of hold it in a way that it'll kind of hold. What we'll do is we do have to make sure our key is on. So what we'll do is now that we got them touching, what I have it on is the top post right there, and then I have it on the brace that's on the coil there. And right now we're showing 14 volts. That's because of the charger that's on it right now. It's going to be around 14 volts. So we are getting it to the coil. Alrighty, so we're back, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually look at the points down there and see if we can get those adjusted in. I do see a little bit of oil on them that, when we did put it away last year, it did run, it just didn't run very well. So I'm thinking that's what our issue is going to be, is, like I said, I do see some oil around that area. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of gap and clean the points. I'm gonna set you down and get the tools, and we'll get her gapped and cleaned up. One thing I did forget to say is that you do want to make sure that your points are open when you are doing this adjusting. So all you have to pretty much do is just kind of crack that little bolt there loose. And like I said, there's a little adjustment right here. So you kind of turn your screwdriver and it'll either bring the points in or see a little too far there. That's going to be a little too tight right there, so just back her out just a little bit. Now you want to go just till you feel a little bit of, some resistance on that card, but you don't want it to be where it will not move at all. We'll come back when I get the points adjusted and we can see what kind of spark we got. Alrighty, we got those points adjusted in. I'll kind of show you down here when you actually just turn it over. You'll see that spark there. And then you also come up here. You see we got a lot better spark right there. So I think what we have to do now, we might have flooded it, so what we'll do is we'll pull that plug out of there, and see what it looks like. All right, so we got the spark tester out there. We'll put this in there. Let's crack her loose. A lot of times you can just take these plugs out by hand once you do crack them loose. Oh, she don't look like she's flooded at all, really. So I think what we'll do is we'll spray a little carb spray down her and see if we can get her to fire. It actually still looks like a pretty healthy plug. I'm pretty sure last year we did put a new one in it. But you know, like I said, it has been sitting since last summer is when we started working on this thing. So it's been sitting a little bit since the last time we worked on her. Alrighty, we got that plug back on. Got a little carb spray down the throat of her. Let's see if she comes to life. Wow, she's doing something. Not quite sure what, but she's trying. Yep, there she goes. So what we'll do is I'm gonna let that battery charge up a little bit. I don't want to drain her down too much. And we'll come back when that battery's charged up and see if we can get some good fuel. We'll probably take this car apart again. As you see, we did have it apart and I did clean it up last year. But, you know, might as well do it again. Make sure she's good and figure it out. So now we'll take the carb off. There is a fuel shut off right here. We'll just shut the fuel off right now. There's still a little bit of fuel in it from last year. And then it's a straight screwdriver. This right here actually just kind of pops off of here. There's a little ball. Just do it kind of gingerly so it does not break. And then again, you can take this fuel line off. Sometimes you do want to kind of run it up so that way it's out of the way. These fuel shut-offs do tend to leak a little bit, but nothing to worry about. We'll take a screwdriver, take these off. The best way to take these out are generally a screwdriver, just for the simple fact that there's not a whole lot of room to go around in here. And then once you kind of crack them loose, you can kind of get your hand in there and kind of get that out. Sometimes it is easier just to use a screwdriver. Sometimes you just gotta go back and forth. Now on these carburetors that do bottom out, you will have to crack the other side loose. I'll kind of show you the bolt when I get it out so you kind of know what I'm talking about. You can either use, I believe it's a 1/2 inch, or you can use a screwdriver. It really doesn't matter, but see if you kind of look here, there's this here where you kind of just put the screwdriver in. It is a lot easier to do it that way versus using a wrench. So set that up there. Now, one thing that's nice about these carburetors is you can actually take only one bolt out. You do have to loosen the other side because there's little slides on the carburetor, and I'll show you that. So if you look at, there's little slides right here. That way it kind of holds your gaskets in, stuff like that. So now what we'll do is we'll go over to the bench. We'll get this carb taken apart. So I believe it is a 1/2 inch to take that bowl off the bottom there. Sorry about that. You know, getting the hang of this camera is quite difficult. So, all right, actually I do think it is a 9/16 here. So we'll just take this bowl off. carburetor looks like. So, kind of lift you guys up, kind of show you. There's some crud in there. The fuel is getting a little bit old, so I think what we'll do is we'll also drain that out. One thing I am seeing also is there is a little bit of dirt that has come out here. If you look kind of at the table, you kind of see bubbles, and it's also water. So I think one thing we did need to do to this is actually pull that carburetor apart. So this here, generally you can reuse these. They are actually the sealing gasket between the bowl here and the lip of the carburetor. They will stick out beyond the carburetor here when you put the bowl on. There's actually a little ridge in here that sits in that lip. Alright, I'll pull this pin out here. Alright, always want to shake this. Make sure that you're not hearing anything, because sometimes they do get water or fuel into them, and that means they are junk. So, one thing is, this is a rubber tip needle. So, you don't want to get carb cleaner or anything like that on it, because what you will do is you will kind of dry this out and it won't seal properly. Now inside the carburetor here there is a jet. What we'll do is we'll pull that out. Let me grab the screwdriver real quick and we'll get that out. I don't know if you guys can kind of see that there. So what you do is stick a screwdriver in there. You do want to kind of press firmly to both, because if you do strip it, you're not going to be very happy about it. So we'll get that pulled out and we'll go to the next step. All right, so that's what that jet's going to look like there. All right, now that we got that jet out of there, is what we're going to do is we're going to take this top adjustment out here on the carburetor. So that kind of adjusts the fuel that is actually going into your carburetor here. So we'll get that taken out. And there is little jets right here. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. It is kind of hard to see even with the naked eye, but you do want to make sure all that's cleaned out. Now, since we got that out, what we can do is actually take some carb cleaner, kind of clean out, spray out everything. Make sure everything's flowing right and things like that. Now, you do want to pull this one out too, and again, blow this out. Now that you got the carburetor off, you might as well go through it and kind of just make sure everything's flowing the way it should. Nice. See how that's kind of coming out out of the carburetor there? I'll kind of show you where I'm spraying into. This is where we just took that jet out. So that's nice and cleaned out. You always want to make sure you kind of give it a look around. Make sure you don't have any cracks or anything like that. One place they do like to crack is if, as you can tell, this has been changed. So this here, sometimes when people change it, they will crack around this area here. So, all right, now we'll take a look at the jets.
give that a good spray out. Now, if you got an ultrasonic cleaner or something like that, those do help. We generally don't use them too much because they do take time, and we do have a shop, so they, generally you will get the same result by just sitting and actually cleaning it out. All right, so now that I know that jet is cleaned out, I'll screw that one back in. Make sure it's tight. Like I said, you do not want to strip this. If you strip it, you are not going to be happy, because trying to find one of those, you might as well just buy a whole dollar carburetor. Alrighty, so what we'll do is we'll put our other jet in that we just sprayed out. Make sure your ends and stuff like that are all clean. They don't have any debris, anything like that, because if you put it in with debris on it, you just undid what you just did by cleaning it. So the way we usually do it is go off. We screw it all the way in. You do not need to put a bunch of tension over it. All right, so we go 1.5 out. That's a good starting point. So what that means is 3 half turns. So you look where it's at, and you turn it 3 halves. Now, we do still have to clean out this jet here. So like I said, there is little holes right there, and there is one right there too. So now what we'll do is we'll just take this spring off here just to make it a lot easier. Give that a quick good spray out on these. And then the same thing with these. Now sometimes having the ultrasonic cleaner would help with things like this, just for the simple fact of the matter of, I can't get all the way down there. That's just, you can't do it. So, all right, now that those are all cleaned out, we'll put this back into the carburetor. Now this is going in that bottom jet that's actually down here. So like I said, this here controls your amount of fuel that is actually going into the carburetor. So we'll get that screwed in. And again, we want to start with the same starting point at 1.5 turns out. It's generally a good spot to start at for most small engines. Now, like I said, you don't want to really torque on this. See how it's straight with the carburetor. It may not always be that way for every carburetor, but for this one it is. So what we'll do is we'll go like 1, 2, and 3. So it's that 1.5 out. As you can see, like I said, it is straight with the carburetor. Now, we will take the needle. You do want to take a rag and kind of wipe it off, make sure there's no debris on it. As you can kind of see, like I was telling you guys, if the camera would focus, there we go. Oh, all right, so like this is right here is rubber. So that's what's gonna actually seal the seat in this carburetor because of it being a brass seat. So what we'll do is we'll just slide it into the carburetor. We'll get our float. Set our float on there. And then we got our retaining pin. Now, if you run into a carburetor that the retaining pin is not wanting to come out, some carburetors, they only come out one way. Other carburetors, they may just be that stuck. Now, do not force them.
A lot of times what people will do is they will take a needle nose or something like that, and pop it, and they'll break one of these off right here. So then, and again, you might as well just get a new carburetor then. All right, so what we'll do is we'll get this back in here. You can either do it before you put the float on or after. It really does not matter. Get this to sit in its happy home there. And sometimes this will extend out a little bit because of, you know, the gas will kind of stretch it and stuff like that. So a lot of times that you may have to change that. But everything does look good on it. So what we'll do, we're gonna give the bowl a quick spray out. Give it a good wipe. Alrighty. I'll put that back on. Make sure that you're getting it into the groove. If you do not get it in the groove and you try tightening this thing up, it will strip out your center. Do that again, you're gonna need a new carburetor. So, make sure your gasket on the bottom is good, otherwise she will leak. Now, this does not require a bunch of tension. Just give her a good, make sure she's tight, and that's all you need it. You don't need to over torque it or anything like that. Now, like I said, these are made to actually be outside of the carburetor a little bit. So just don't be worried about that if that is like that. That's the way they do come. All right, we'll come back and get this on the tractor. Okay, we'll get this carburetor on here now. See if we can get her to run. So like I said, it is a slide on it, so we'll just slide it on this one bolt right here, and then we'll start screwing in our other one. Actually, before we do that, we gotta remember to hook up that choke, because once it's on there, we will not be able to hook up that choke. All right, slide her on there. That way we can also install this bolt here. We'll grab that screwdriver and get her tightened up. Now, once you get it closer, you will have to jump onto this side and start tightening the other side, or you will break the housing on the carburetor. Because this one bolt does go against the carburetor when you do tighten it. So, like I said, you do want to make sure you tighten that one. At least bring it in. There we go. We'll get this fuel line on here. And actually what we will do, let's see here, this is a good fuel line, so actually we'll just throw that back on there. Turn that gas on. You can see that gas going down into the bowl there. So far, no leaks. Get the governor and throttle hooked up here. That just kind of snaps on there. All right, make sure everything works like it should. All right, choke is on. See what she does. So it does look like we will have to back that fuel adjustment out, but a half turn, we'll start out with that. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna let more fuel into the carburetor. We're gonna turn it out a little bit more. That way we get more fuel. But right now the choke is on. All right, guys, we got the 1450 Cub Cadet running today. After a carb clean and, gap in and clean in the points. As you can see, nice blue spark, and that's what you want to have after you do that, because that's what's gonna make the spark run optimal on the motor. We do have a lot more coming on this tractor. We do have to get it tuned up. I do have a blower to put on it because we are still in winter time. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the blower on it, take the deck off of it, sharpen the blades, things like that, check the belts. As I said earlier, this tractor does have all the original purchase paperwork with it. And that's gonna go on to whoever wants to buy this machine. It's a beautiful machine. I hope they cherish it. You know, because you don't see many of them like this anymore. So, like I said, we are going to get some more videos going for it. I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow or quite yet. So, I hope you guys have a great one. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, like the video, share it. We are a brand new channel, so we'd like to get our name out there as much as possible. If you like the content, please let us know. Thank you. Have a great one.